Uh, right. So you launch Kahuna Manager Pro and you're met with this screen here. There's 4 elements to it. There's Kahuna Watch, Kahuna Mirror, there's a clip preview, and there's a Trev. I've just seen that Pete's joined the Teams meeting. Can you send him in the right direction? And there's, thanks, Trev. So there's the HDR 3D LUT converter as well. So the one that deals with stills and clips and audio files is Kwatch. And the way it works is it's really designed for a big studio complex where you've got all your mainframes connected to a main system. And you can drop things into a folder. They will automatically convert and then automatically upload into your Kahuna mainframes. Now, obviously, if you're sitting in a gallery with a PC, you're not going to be in that situation, but you can use it locally on your PC to do a conversion, which you can then put on a USB stick and import it. So we're going to launch Kwatch. So there you go. The way it works is you've got the reason it's called Kahuna Watch is it's got a folder which it watches. Anything you drop into that folder that's got the right file name, it will convert. It will put the SWS file in that folder, and it can upload directly into the Kahuna. The Kahuna does need a license to do that. But if you haven't got the license or you're not on the network on your PC, you can still do it with the USB. So I'm going to create a watch. Click on the add button. You can give it a name. I'll call it demo. A watch folder. So this is the folder where you drop things into. I'm going to put it on my C drive. I've actually created one earlier on cheekily. So I've got a demo folder. So I'm going to select on my C drive, the watch folder demo. It's just any old folder on your PC or that your PC can see. And then the destination folder. Again, choose your folder. And then that's where it'll drop the SWS clips. Down here is what it actually does with it. So you can select the frame size that you're going to convert to. So if you're dealing with clips, hopefully the clip will have been created in the standard that you're running. If it's not, you can resize it. So I could resize it to any of these frame sizes, but we'll stick with 1080i 50. What you could do is you could, sorry, if you're in match video standard, get this right, then it'll match to the frame size of your video standard. If you have it in original, whatever the original clip size or image size was, that's what it will go through. So with stills, you can actually transfer stills that are much bigger, and you can then zoom around them on the Kahuna store. Excuse me, on the Kahuna image store. So normally, if you're dealing with clips or stills that are the right size, which hopefully they are, match video standard, 1080p, and that will, you want it centered and you want the best quality of any, if it's having to do any interpolation, any frame size changing, you want it centered and the best quality. File settings, this is basically what it does with the conversion. So you can, if your clip's got audio on it that you don't want, you can tick that box. If it's got an alpha channel key signal, you can get it to ignore that. Otherwise, any embedded alpha channel will come through as a separate key signal. All that comes through, the audio comes through. I'll do a demo in a bit with a clip that's got a key and audio on it. You can set it so that when the file arrives, it will automatically play, or a loop. If you're doing, maybe you've got a background loop that you just want to load into a store and it just automatically play and loop. You can change the play speed. This works in FAT32 on your USB stick, because USB sticks are FAT32. So if you've got really, really big files, because obviously FAT32 can't cope with really big file sizes, then it will split it up and put them all in a folder. And then you import that folder into your Kahuna. If you have the delete source after conversion, whatever you drop into your source folder, your watch folder, will just get deleted as soon as it's converted it into an SWS file. Finally, the mainframe, you can do an auto file transfer. Have a look on the network. So I've got two mainframes on my network. I'm going to choose that one, and I'm going to drop it into project 17. So now anything that gets converted will automatically get transferred on the network straight into the Kahuna. As I said earlier, you do need a KManager Pro license for your, hello, watch folder is the same as destination folder. Oh, that's because I didn't select out on it. Let's just go back and do that. Gives you a warning if you, hang on, out, go into that one and select that one. Sorry, I hadn't realized I'd done that. So the out folder is actually on my system, is within the demo folder. So as I said, you do need a KManager Pro license if you're able to transfer using a network connection. So now I've got 3 folders that I set up earlier on. One has got my stills and clips in. One is my out folder, and one is the watch folder. So that's the watch folder. That's the out folder. As I said, I've got the out folder in my watch folder. So now anything with a number from 0 to 999 will transfer. So if I drop that into there, it will, there it is, picture of Robin. It's converted it to an SWS file. And if I look on my Kahuna now, and go into store on project 17, lo and behold, at 400, there's Robin. Now it's stretched it because I told it to match the video standard, because I was expecting to do clips. I'm going to delete both of those now, and just show you. Let's delete both. I'll quickly show you. If I change my watch now to be, edit it. If I change it so that the output video now is original size, and click OK, and then find my folders again. There's my 3 folders. If I now drop that, actually all I need to do is delete the SWS file. It'll see it's been deleted and it'll create a new one, and lo and behold, it has. Now I look back at my, and that's done the same thing. What have I not done? Ah, right, hang on. I love live demos. Right, original, standard frame size original. Right. That's right. That should have, I need to work out why that's not done what I want it to. Great.
Do you want to remind us what standard it takes? What files will convert?
It converts pretty much anything and everything. So in terms of JPEGs, PNGs, bitmaps, anything, all the TIFFs, any standard.
Mobs with audio.
So it's, in terms of audio, I can't remember. I think it certainly does WAV files. I think it does MP3s. I'm not sure about AAC. It's basically anything that, see, our expert, I was going to ask him all these questions earlier on, and he's off today, which is great. In terms of video clips, it'll do MOVs, it'll do MP4, AVIs. It does pretty much, basically if VLC can play it on a computer, then it'll play it.
So in an ideal world for a mixer, say we've got an animation, a flying key, it's the ideal scenario to have, I'm just giving you an example of what I might use on a different Grass Valley product, KN. So I might import a .mov, which is embedded, and it has audio on it.
Yeah, I've got one of those which I was going to demonstrate. In fact, are you okay? The file you sent me the other day.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah. Okay, right. Yeah, I'm a bit confused as to why that hasn't come out in the right size. Original 1080. I'm just going to do that once more, and if it hasn't done it this time, I'm going to see if I can work out what's going on. Right, so let's delete the out folder. Sorry, this is taking longer than I thought it would. Right, it's done there. Right, that's still stretched. Right, I'm going to come back to that because that has surprised me as to why it's done that. But I even checked that the other day. Right, so let's go back to Match Video Standard. We'll do a clip which has got an alpha channel and a key channel embedded in it. Find my folders again. Right. There they all are. So 401, we'll drop that in there, and this will take a little time to do because it's got to convert it. So I don't know if you can see down here, this is the status of what it's doing. So at the moment it's converting F, that means it's converting the fill. And then now it's converting the key. So this is a file which Trevor Bailey's given me that is from a production that he was working on. It was the file that he was given. It was an embedded MOV. So it's got, there you go, the audio's done as well. It's doing its final conversions. And this file here, it says sws.kwt. The kwt is a temporary file that it just drops there while it's doing all its conversions. So in a short while, I'll be able to demo what's going on. Okay. Seems to have got itself in.
And Ian, just to point out, the default standards it sets to is original, or what is it on the watch?
On the watch, I think it's what did I have it set to? I thought I set it to match video, no, to original. So this clip originally was 1080i, so it's not going to do any changes to it. And it seems to have got into a right. Seems to be converting it rather a lot. Right. I'm going to pause that watch because I don't know what it's doing.
Is this a bit like Blue Peter? You tried it earlier and it worked.
Yeah, I did try it earlier. It's one of the few things I had time to try this morning. Right. Do excuse me a moment while I. You. Right, it's told me there's an error. It's not helped by the fact that my PC is running very, very slowly today. So let's try again. Let's launch Watch. Okay. Okay, Watch. There it is. It's come up on the other screen. And let's run it. So now I can put you in there.
So on average, and when you did it before, how long should it take to convert like a 1 or 2 second animation?
The conversion doesn't take very long normally. It takes a bit longer to upload to the Kahuna, depending on what your network is. And the network here is not great, I have to admit. But, well, it's not great today. All right, it's happily done that one today. So it's now uploading to the Kahuna. So that red light up there shows you that the transfer is in progress. As I say, it did take, when I did this earlier on today, it took a couple of minutes to upload it.
And one of the reasons for that is we use this is a background task, so it won't upset the switcher when you're live on air. That's the whole point of it. It could, we could have it a lot quicker, but then it might interrupt something you're trying to do with the switcher, and that's not what we want. So we've always used it as a background task. So these sort of network transfers are bottom of the pile in order of priority.
So it is transferring at the moment. While that's happening, I might as well quickly talk you through K-Mirror. K-Mirror is, oh, there we go, it's just appearing. It's just appeared now. I'll move on to that now. So I'm going to load that into my store. And if I play the store, I don't know if you can see that down there. That's the clip. So it's obviously got a key with it because it's keying over the bars, and it's got audio with it as well. So that's all transferred quite happily, and then you can make up your sting white to match that clip. Yeah, so going back to Mirror, it's really meant for, again, studio centers that are running several studios all running the same show. Like we've got a major sport client in Europe who've got 19 Kahunas, and they want to be able to make a show in any of their studios on any of their Kahunas. So it's a way of, I can find it, there we go. I've got a rather lot open on my PC. You can basically, I'll create a new one. So you can mirror whole projects. So if I add that one, So I'm adding mainframe. So I've got 2 mainframes in my list now. I can either do all projects, or I can make it say, let's pick that one. So if I pick project 17 on one mainframe, which, thank you, my PC is so slow. So at the moment, project 17, whatever I do on either of those mainframes, whatever changes I make on project 17, it'll get mirrored on the other mainframe. So all the Kahunas in the building will match. And you can put other things into it. So if you only want, say, macros to be mirrored, you can turn everything else off. Probably best not to have eng-config mirrored, because eng-configs are unique really to each individual mainframe. You can set a primary mainframe. So if I set Kestrel as our primary mainframe, then any change I make on Kestrel will get mirrored. But if I make a change on any other mainframe, it won't get mirrored. Clear that. If you haven't set anything as a primary mainframe, it basically looks for the most recently created file, and that's the file that will get mirrored. So you can mirror, as I said, all projects. So all your Kahunas are basically identical. All the projects are the same. Or you could have it so that you've got an upload. So you've got a folder on your PC that you're basically dropping things into, and they will get uploaded to those 2 mainframes. Or a mainframe backup. So if you want to back up everything on your mainframe onto your PC, you can use that. As I say, it's more of a thing that you'd use in a studio center with lots of mainframes. One thing that I think you will like is the clip preview, which is opened on my other screen. Let's get it up here. So with this, with Kwatch, you have to have the files with the number of the place that you want in your Kahuna. So the example I gave earlier on with file 400, the original file was called 400, and that's where it's ended up on the Kahuna. It's ended up as number 400. But with this clip player, you can open any file. So what should we do? Let's find, oh, look. So you can spin through to wherever you want your clip. There's a whole load of ITV animations that come from somewhere. So I could, that's very loud, you don't want to hear that. So I can mark an in frame, I can mark an out frame, and then click on the convert button. And here, this is where I give it my particular number. So I think, oh, I want that to be number 600. And the watch I want it to use is the one that I've just created, which is demo. Click on OK. And now that will do the conversion. And it will upload it straight to my Kahuna. He says confidently. It will work.
So just a reminder, Ian, on that, you're saying basically if you can play it in that, you can convert it into an SWS file for the mixer.
Exactly, yeah.
And it takes it's a standard video player, but obviously it's got conversion technology in it.
Yeah, yeah.
So it'd be handy for a loop or some other background or some bits and pieces you might be putting into the mixer, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Background loops. Oh, look, it's appeared. There it is. Background loops, stings, anything like that. You can, as you can see, you can trim ins and outs as well. And then it will do the conversion, the red lights come on to say it's uploading it.
Is there any particular settings in that, or is it just sort of quite basic in its operation, if you know what I mean?
It's pretty, I mean, well, the settings are all set in, if I go back to here, that's, the settings are the ones that I set in my watch. So
it mirrors that basically, yeah.
Yeah, it's using the settings that I put into watch earlier on. So anyway, there it is. And I'm sure if I cut to it, there it is. What more could you want? So that I think is something that would be quite useful in a gallery situation where somebody comes along and says, right, here's your wipe on this USB stick. And as long as you've set your watch up in advance, which is basically, I mean, if you're not connected to the network, all you need to do is have a watch with 2 folders set to be the frame sizes that you're working in, and it'll just happen. That'll convert it to an SWS file, and you can then import that into your Kahuna. Last thing I'm quickly going to talk about, again, it's much more of an engineering thing, which is, if I can find it, where's watch gone? There it is. The HDR 3D LUT translator, which opens on the other side. I don't know how much you're going to get involved in HDR, SDR conversions. Basically, Kahuna is able to, you can run your Kahuna in HDR, and then you can feed SDR signals into it, and it will do an upscale. Or you can feed SDR out of it, and it will downscale to SDR. You can do conversions either way on inputs or outputs. And that's been around for probably about 18 months. And the world of HDR is now moving into 3D LUTs, which are basically, if you imagine your RGB, the curves that it's using, you've got three of them, RGB, and it creates a 3D file. And we basically take the 3D file and translate it into the format that we use within the Kahuna. I won't go into it in too much detail because there's various things that you need to know. Firstly, you need the Kahuna Manager Pro license to upload it into your Kahuna. You also need Format Fusion 4 on your Kahuna. And on top of all that, you've got to buy your LUT files from somewhere. We don't provide those. The most common ones seem to be BBC. BBC have got a whole range of LUT files, but you basically, you put it in up there, put your LUT file in there, which I've got some on my desktop actually. HDR LUT files, cube files. So it's a cube. So if I pop that in there, you can give it a LUT file number. I'll give it 777. You can. That's where it's going to end up on my PC, and I can change the name to be whatever you want. Sadly, 3D LUT cube files don't have any metadata with them at all, so you've got to tell it what it's doing. So I'm going to say, I don't even know what this file does, but let's say it converts from SDR into HLG, and it's either going to be BBC One, BBC Type 1 or BBC Type 3, not sure what. You can do a direct transfer to your mainframe, which there, I remember my mainframe number, 6, I think, and that'll now convert it into the type of file that Kahunas deal with. The conversion takes a couple of minutes, and then it'll appear as under filing system. You've got the HDR LUTs there. In fact, it's just appearing there, and it's going to upload it. And the way you use that you've got your system standard. If you're running your system standard in, move that to HLG, cancel that. So if our HDR system standard is HLG, so any up conversion or down conversion that it does on the inputs or outputs, you would then select to be whatever fixed LUT that you're going to use. So in this case, it would be 777, but it's still uploading. You can override an input. So if I look at inputs, you've got HDR inputs, and you can either have the input taking the system standard, which would either be HDR or SDR. If you tell it it's SDR, that will use the LUT that we put in earlier on. You can give it a local one. You've got loads of lift and gain adjustments, and you can tell it to use a fixed LUT as well. So I won't go into too much detail because that's much more of an engineering thing. So I think that is Kahuna Manager Pro as it stands. So Trevor Bailey is going to give you a link to where you can download that.
Yeah, I'll send you a link to that later on today.
I went through that quite quickly, and I apologize for going through quickly. But
so just an overview on it. Basically, it's instead of using the old system, which most of us are probably used to, where we'd have to have an embedded TGA sequence where we convert it. You're basically saying we can put that or other formats into a folder, and once we set it up, that is using Kwatch, put it into the folder. It does the conversion. Now, for most of us, we would just be putting on a USB stick to see it.
So any of the output files you put on your USB stick and then import that into your Kahuna.
And well, I've found the odd time I've converted stuff before, which I didn't know if it had a key or not. Is there a way of telling if it's got a key on it?
Yeah. So when you look at your clip, so these clips that I've imported, underneath the thumbnail, it'll tell you. So that hasn't got anything. That's just a still. This one's got C to say it's a clip, and it's got K to say it's got a key in it. It's got a little loudspeaker to say it's got audio on it. So you know that you've got all those things. And in fact, if I look at that file, you can see, oh, it's actually going to load it, but that's fine. Go away. I don't want to see that. So you can see the key and the fill on those two thumbnails up there. So that's basically whatever you load into a store, it shows you up there.
Is there any way once the file is converted, so say you don't have a mixer to connect it to, that you can actually just check it's got a key?
You can play SWS files in the preview player. I wouldn't say that will confirm it's got a key with it. But I've never had one fail.
Yeah, I think as it was converting, you did say it was doing the fill first was the F and then the K.
Right.
So if you keep an eye on the conversion,
if you keep an eye on the status panel, it will tell you. It gives an F for fill, K for key, and A for audio.
Perfect. Okay. I think what we'll do is, if you're happy enough, we'll just look at some of this updates in the last year and a bit we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
You might just give a brief overview of some of them. And then if anyone has any questions, you can either put it in the chat or we could just pause at the end and you can actually open your mic and talk. There's only about 10 or 12 people on this call, so it might be handy. But just going through some software updates that have come in the last, well, I'd say year and a half that people might be unfamiliar with, or they might actually be on their mixer. Maybe show people how you find what software it is first on a mixer. Yeah,
that's a very good point. So when you sit down at your Kahuna, so we're now we're about to release 9. What are we on? 9.6 R2, which is going to get released in the next couple of weeks, I think. So if you go to your home page, click up a lot on that menu, you've got the status button down there. Click on that, and that will tell you what software you're running. I'm actually running a beta version, which is never a good thing. Beta versions don't end up in the real world, so you won't have a beta version. So this is 9.6 beta 200, which is actually the R2 that we're going to release shortly. You've got two windows. One is the panel and one's the mainframe. Mainframes can only connect using the same software. So either of those windows will tell you what software you're running. So in the last, I was looking back recently at what we've done in the last 18 months, since COVID, in fact. And at the beginning of COVID, we were on 8.7. So we've actually made quite a bit of progress since then. So MSP, if you're not familiar with MSP, it's basically, it runs on a PC. It's all the menus that you would find on a Kahuna. And it connects to Kahunas that are on the network. So I've been controlling this Kahuna using MSP. You get three screens with it. That's the main GUI that you'd see on the external GUI. Down here we've got our little Mav GUI with all the same things that you'd have on that. I find that some things I find easier on this GUI, I have to say. One of them, when you're just flicking through stores, it's quite easy if you're using subclips. You can just do that on your panel. The other screen that we've got is a little control screen. So this basically, you can control any of your MEs. You've got a key bus program and preset, and it's like a little mini mixer panel, so I can put key on and off. You've got a fader, so it could be useful if you've got two visual mixers on a show, and say somebody's looking after monitors and there isn't a panel to be had, a spare panel to be had, and they're sitting at a different desk, then that could be useful. The other thing that's included in MSP is a thing called FuncPad. Now, FuncPad, I won't go into detail because there is actually a video which I'm sure Trevor Bailey can point you at. It's also on the grassvalley.com website. Excuse me. And it's basically a blank screen that you can add buttons to, and the buttons can either be macros or they can be clones of real buttons or clones of things on the GUI. Have a look at the video. It's quite a handy little thing because you can have a little screen in front of you. It runs on, actually FuncPad runs on the screen on the panel on the desk. So I can just add a button to that. There's a button, I can give it a macro number. As I say, I won't go into too much detail with this. Well, let's not.
Just a reminder, the MSP software only works if you're connected to the mixer. So
that's right. You can't. Yeah. You can't run it to see where menus are, sadly.
Yeah, it's not an emulator as such. No,
you do need to have a mainframe that you're connected to. Other things, on the effects dissolves, there are 8 now user definable effects dissolves presets. They're under user config, and there they are. So basically, you can, if you're building a lot of DMEMs with effects dissolves built into them, you can select one of these presets. You can vary them. I can adjust any one of these 8, and it's quite handy because if you're doing, say, you're doing a whole load of DVE moves that are almost the same, but you want them all to have the same profile, all the same duration. All you're doing is moving positions around. Then if you use a preset, say give it preset 2, you've built all your DMEMs, and then you think, oh, they're all a bit slow. So all you need to do is change the preset, and because the preset isn't saved within the DMEM file, then the DMEMs will pick up the new preset. So it's a good way of just speeding up creating effects dissolves when you're making a lot of similar moves. We've got NMOS support on IPI and IPO50s, if that means anything to you. NMOS is basically it's a protocol within IP video transport, and NMOS is because the IP world is evolving. NMOS is a way of everybody trying to say, right, this is the standard, we're all going to work this way. So we support that. And also within IP, on IPI and IPO50s, we've got multi-audio channel support. So normally you'd have your incoming video with its up to 16 embedded audio channels. You can now say, right, I want 8 audio channels with that, and then I'll subscribe to another one and get another 8 channels, or 4 lots of 4, and you can do audio shuffling. Again, it's a bit more of an engineering thing because it's to do with setting up your inputs and outputs. Again, with IP, we do 12 gig single stream UHD. So that comes in on one IP stream. So UHD 4K coming in on one IP stream. Kahuna Manager Pro. There's a little thing which probably sounds a bit trivial, but it's actually, we've had people saying, oh, wow, that's really good. On the multi-viewer, if you've got the multi-viewer going to any screens, if you give any tile a title, normally the title will be tile 3. Now I can't actually demo this I probably can. Let me very quickly set up, see if I can get, right. So I'm going to make that output a multi-viewer. I can remember what output it is. I think it's D2. Oh, look, there we go, a multi-viewer. What you can't see is the tile. Well, let's make that bigger. That didn't work. Good try. Oh, I love PCs. Right, I'm stuck in the land of PCs now. What you can't actually see, and I'll see if I can sort it out on here, if I find the right multi-viewer. That is it that one? Which tile is it? Sorry, I should have had a chance to. There we go. It's that tile there. Now the title of that tile is left blank, and if you leave the title blank, what it does is it just puts up the time of day clock on your multi-viewer, which if I make that very big, you might just be able to see. I'm making it smaller. Yeah, you just about to see that, can't you? I'll find the title. There we go. It's getting hidden under the tile above it, sadly. Let's turn that tile off. There we go. So you can put a time of day clock, and that's locked to your Kahuna time, which is probably locked to PTP. So it's going to be about as accurate as you can get if it's locked to PTP. But again, that's an engineering thing. Ask your engineers to lock it to PTP. You can now import a PNG file as a still. That's only something that we've introduced in the last 18 months. And finally, if you've got, I can't demo this at all because it's a physical thing, but if you've got a fader MAV, which are MAVs with a little panel with 8 audio faders on it, you can attach any variable parameter to one of those faders. So normally they'd be used for audio, but you can literally put anything that is variable. So these, I could put that onto an audio fader, you go fader assign, you click on it, and it's done. I can't demo that, I'm afraid, because I haven't got a panel in front of me. But that's pretty much all the major stuff that we've.
What about the one in shortcuts we were talking about, which is about 1.5 years?
Oh, that was a long time ago. That was even longer ago than that. Some people get a bit confused as to what their transition rates are. But if you go into this menu here, so it's shortcuts, trans key, that will show you all your ME banks and all the keyers on the ME banks. I say you have to select your ME bank down here, but it will show you all the keyers, what their primary and secondary transition times, all the keyer transition times, and any offsets. It's also on this menu. And I've got to remember because it's a long time since I've had to look for it. Is it under the star menu? Oh, don't know. It does exist, promise.
Also, you've got the auto trans on off option on the same page. Is that right? You want to point people in that direction of that?
Yeah.
On the main bit. So, am I right?
Auto trans on off.
Yeah, just above there. You've got as a preference, you can turn it on.
Sorry. Yes. So on a keyer panel, you've got. I haven't got one here to show you, but you've got above the keyer buttons, there's a button to switch the keyer on. And you've now got the option. So normally it would be off. So when you hit the button, the keyer cuts on. But if you select yes on this page, then all the keyers, instead of doing a cut on, it will do an auto trans on based on the rate that you set here. So if you want different keyers, if you still want to say key 3 to do a cut, you can just set your key 3 duration to be 0, and key 3 will do a cut, and everything else will do an auto trans set to whatever value you've got in that window there.
And just to point out, what the ME you're actually working on is displayed at the very top of the screen in the center. So if you're ever querying what you're actually on, you're on ME1 up there, but obviously you've selected ME1, but just so people don't get confused what ME you're working on.
It's also quite useful down here.
Yeah, exactly.
You can follow it down there as well. So if you're not familiar with the way it works, so if I'm doing a change to ME1 keyer 1, then those green lights come on. I can adjust any keyer or any ME. One thing that I don't think is widely known or appreciated is how easy it is to copy from one ME or one keyer to another. So if I've made a setup, say on ME2, and I want to copy that same setup to ME3, like ME2 there, do a copy, click on ME3, and now ME3 is a mirror of ME2. Similarly, you can do a copy of keyers. So I could say, right, ME3 is key 3, copy ME3 key 3, and I want to copy that into ME4 key 1. Oh, ME4's only got key 1 because it's UHD, but sorry, not copy. I want.
Can you copy X, Y, Z values from a resizer or something as well?
You can. Sorry, I'm going to do that again because it didn't. I was trying to paste into a keyer that was in UHD. So that's how you copy and paste between keyers. Copy also, you can, if I go into the XY sizes on the resizer, I can build, so I could build a whole load of copies up here. So X position, Y position, zoom, I can copy all of those and then paste those into a different keyer, so into key 2, and I can paste X position, Y position, and zoom into that keyer. So it's a way of any variable can be copied. You have to do them in the right order. and it might be better just to copy a whole keyer across in that situation. But if you're copying a whole load of different parameters, that's the quickest way of doing it.